Macbeth Act 1 Scene 4. This is an important scene. Well, they all are important, but this, in a sense, is how Shakespeare shows how Macbeth really must make a decision. And this is very, very important. Um, at the moment, we know that he's a brave and noble character. We know that he's very good at warfare. He's tough, he's aggressive. We know lots of things about him. He's honest, and but we also kind of see that he's also ambitious. That he's thought of being king. That being king is something that he has thought of and considered. And in fact, the three witches kind of almost remind him of the fact that he's thought about killing Duncan. Now, it doesn't really go into that. We surmise that it's something but it's definitely there. That in a way, his mind has been opened, or what the secrets of his mind have been almost become apparent to the witches. And in this scene, we see that Shakespeare's intention is to show that, things don't fall into your lap that easily, that you're going to have to make a decision. So the setting here is forest, which is the king's palace. The king's palace, not anyone else's. So you've got Duncan, the king, Malcolm, his son, Donalby and his son, Lennox in attendance. And then Macbeth comes along too. Duncan begins, "Is execution done on Cawdor? Are not those in commission yet returned?" And remember, the Thane of Cawdor, he committed high treason, which is treason against a king. So in a sense, he's been executed. And then his son goes on to say, "My liege, they are not come back, but I have spoken with one that saw him die, who did report that very frankly he confessed his treasons, implored your highness's pardon, and set forth a deep repentance. Nothing in his life became him like the leaving it. He died as one who had been studied in his death, to throw away the dearest thing he owned, as 'twere a careless trifle." And interestingly here, we see that even though the Thane of Cawdor has committed treason, in a way he dies with honour, and he dies in a sense understanding the nature of what he's done. And in a way, it's kind of like that tragic hero, in a sense, I suppose you could kind of consider that the kind of Thane of Cawdor, that he understands what he's done and he repents of that. But again, some nice kind of phrases in there. The one had been studied in his death. Duncan says, again, a great quote, "There's no art to find the mind's construction in the face." And in a way, it's like you can't see what's going on in someone's head. That basically you can believe that they're thinking one thing when really they're thinking something else completely. Okay, he says, "He was a gentleman in whom I built an absolute trust." All right, so the king's thing. So be careful who you trust, in a sense. And then Macbeth, Banquo, Ross, and Angus have returned. Remember? They were on their way to see the king. "Oh, worthiest cousin, the sin of my ingratitude even now was heavy on me. Thou art so far before the swiftest wing of recompense is slow to overtake thee. Would thou hadst less deserved that the proportion both of thanks and payment might have been mine. Only I have been left to say, more is thy due than all can pay." And it's kind of interesting here, because Duncan, in a sense, he's a very noble, honest, righteous king in many respects. He's not a tyrant. And if you look at the imagery associated with Duncan, it's definitely one of growth, of fecund energy. And it's just, there's a lot that goes on with Duncan that's kind of quite noble in a sense. Macbeth says, "The service and the loyalty I owe, in doing it pays itself. Your highness's part is to receive our dues, and our duties are to the throne and state, children and servants, which do what they should do by doing everything safe toward your love and honour. It's just a kind of stock reply, really. Oh, it was nothing. It was nothing, King Duncan. I didn't mind sort of, splitting MacDonald in half for you and kind of chopping up people's arms and legs. And Duncan continues, welcome hither. I have begun to plant thee, and will labour to make thee full of growing. Noble Banquo, thou hast no less deserved, nor must be known no less to have done so. Let me enfold thee and hold thee to my heart. Now look at again that imagery. Let me have thee for have come. Like Duncan is the gardener, and he tends his garden. And in a way, he wants people to grow. There's something quite natural about him. We get that idea of nature, and then with the witches, the unnaturalness, the supernatural. Banquo, there, if I grow, the harvest is your own. Duncan replies, my plenteous joys, wanton and fullness, seek to hide themselves in drops of sorrow. Sons, kinsmen, thanes, those who would place us are the nearest, know we will establish our estate upon our eldest, Malcolm, whom we name thereafter the Prince of Cumberland, which honour must not accompanied invest him only, but signs of nobleness like stars shall shine on all deserves, from hence to Inverness, and bind us to you further. So, this is the problem. That in a sense, Duncan has just named Malcolm as his heir, the Prince of Cumberland, meaning when Duncan passes away or dies, Malcolm shall become King of Scotland. Now, that's a big deal, okay? But signs of nobleness like stars shall shine on all deserves. Look at the stars, okay? So then Macbeth. The rest is labour which is not used for you. I'll be myself the harbinger, make joyful the hearing of my wife with your reproach. So humbly take my leave. Because what Duncan said is, we're going to Inverness, which where Macbeth lives, and Inverness is in the north, it's the Highlands, and Forrest is in the lowlands, so he's got to take off on his horse and ride back quickly. Duncan replies, my worthy corridor. Macbeth, remember, he's in a room full of people, okay? He's part of that, what's happening there, and he has an aside, not a soliloquy, which is the character on their own on the stage, but an aside. The Prince of Cumberland, that is a step on which I must fall down, or else o'erleap, for in my way it lies. Stars, hide your fires, let not light see my black and deep desires. They wink at the hand, yet let that be which the eye fears when it is done to see. And here is Macbeth's problem. Now remember, Act 1, Theme 3 says, if chance may crown me, and chance can do me without my stir. It's not quite the quote, but it's, So in a way, he didn't, he did nothing wrong. He got Thane of Cawdor. So, if he's going to become king, he can do it without having to murder the king or do anything dastardly until this. So in a way, Macbeth's probably keeping his fingers crossed that King Duncan is going to say, I'm going to name Macbeth as the next king in line, which would have been strange. Because remember, it's hierarchical, running through, in a sense, that a patriarchal system. In a way, it runs through blood, the king's blood, and so, the king's son. That's just the way my royalty runs. So it would have been unusual. But Macbeth said, hoping for hope, and his hopes are dashed. Because now he realised that Malcolm will be king. And he's got a problem. Because he's got black and deep desires. Stars, hide your fires, let not light see my black and deep desires. So already he knows the kind of person that he is. He knows what he wants is wrong. He understands that. And so we get this beautiful kind of conflict now, the conflict that's within him. To be noble, honest, decent, noble, and yet still harbour those dark feelings against the king. And that's why this is important. This is the sort of catalyst. He must make a choice. And he makes that choice in Act 1, Scene 7 when we come to that. But that will be not until after the holidays. So, Duncan lies, "True, worthy Banquo, he is so valiant, and his commendations I am fed. It is a banquet to me, let's after him, whose care is gone before us to bid welcome. He is a peerless kinsman." And of course, the old dramatic irony, we know he's not. We know he's planning something. All right, so whose care has gone before us, bid us welcome. Okay.